wondering, Karen, where everybody is this morning. The hallways are completely abandoned, and then I remembered that they're having a big, our company is having a big awards breakfast today. Yeah, I was going to ask if you'd heard anything. I forgot to designate someone to accept the award in my name in the event, well, just in case I win one, because I can't be there. So, yeah, hopefully somebody will accept for us. But here's the real problem. I don't begrudge them the breakfast. I hope they're having a wonderful time. But the ladies who know how to make coffee have all left. If one of them could just please come back. None of the people remaining here at the radio station know how to do that anymore. I'm like 2 coffee machines behind in the technology. They keep changing them, and I haven't kept up. So we're on like version 5.0, and I don't know what happens. I know hot water is involved, but I don't know where it goes or when. All right, welcome to Gang of 4. We do know what we're doing here. The big stories of the day and the week with our gang. We're going to kick those stories around, dissect them, solve the problems of the world with our gang. Starting over here on my right, oh, look at this. He's got notes, Post-its.
It's a gas receipt.
Is that a highlighter in your pocket?
This is a friggin' gas receipt. I don't know how you
thought you
wore
were
this.
For once, I thought you were prepared for our show. Criminal defense attorney Jimmy Parks Jr. is here. Jimmy, good morning.
I work harder to prepare for this show than I do for trial. You know, and it's not a good day,
That's
Jack.
That's just what we want to hear.
I woke
it's
up.
It's not a good day. What's the matter?
I woke up grumpy this morning.
Did you?
And she was so upset.
Oh! He's here all week.
But I'm under a confidentiality agreement. I can't get into it. My secretary came up with a great line. No, this is one. Yeah, she's, my office manager, Lisa Barra, tells me this week, she said, I can't take it anymore. I've got to leave. And I said, where are you going? And she says, I think I'm going to join another circus.
Wow, he's off to a rolling start here, folks. And you should see how these jokes go over in the courtroom when you're on trial. Let me tell you. All right, so Jimmy is here today. Nikki Young from PrimaDonna Productions Incorporated. What's your title over there?
The PrimaDonna.
Goddess. The PrimaDonna.
Goddess. Aw, Jay. No, I am president CEO, and so I'm not sure what that means anything.
Nikki's an actress and
a promoter, a producer,
and a blogger,
and a performer.
And so, what does PrimaDonna Productions do? Exactly?
We are a video production company. We produce short films, commercials. We also do theater and live events. So we have.
So if we wanted to produce like a video of Gang of 4, oh wait, we already have that.
Yeah. And you have a fabulous filmmaker.
You'd like to hire him, wouldn't you?
We've worked together, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have had the opportunity. He's the one that made this possible. You made my dream come true to get to work with Jack. It's like a Make-A-Wish Foundation.
God, I'm tearing up.
Did money change hands? That's what I want.
Jay Tope just threw up. Jay Tope,
emotional moment.
Jay Tope used to work here. Then he needed to make some money. And he founded SASports.com, which is the premier high school sports website.
Thank you very much.
And it was the first of many ideas Jay had that I privately thought that will never work. But that worked fabulously well. And then you came up with, what is Radio San Antonio?
It's a radio station, online radio station.
Internet radio.
Yes, great.
And again, I thought,
yeah.
Oh, Jay, really?
Well, actually, you had asked me, I said, okay, well, how do you get to it on the dial? And I told you radiosanantonio.com. Is it available?
I couldn't find it on the dial.
Yeah.
So, that's why I can't make the coffee either. That gives you a little insight.
Yeah.
You are really doing well. And for folks that don't know, this you do the morning show on this radio station, and you're out every morning. You are out at a different location.
Live on location, yes.
We think it's a big deal when once in a while we go out.
Well, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to do something different, and really with internet radio, you have to be able to get out. It's almost like campaigning for votes. You have to get out to the public, and so the best way to do that, obviously, is not be inside a studio. So what we do is, we were at Henry's Buffy Taco yesterday. Today we're at Whataburger. Monday we're at Gold's Gym. So
did you have to go to Gold's Gym because you had been at Whataburger and Henry's Buffy?
Yes, exactly. That's
saw the pattern there. Okay.
Hey, we move my office around all the time too.
Yeah, but that's to run from authorities.
And bill collectors.
If you heard of the Lincoln lawyer, we have the Pontiac lawyer over here.
Nice.
All right. So Jay is here, and he's doing terrestrial radio today.
Yes.
Thanks
yes.
for rejoining us on terrestrial radio.
Anytime.
Herman Cain. How about that, Herman Cain? New poll came out from ABC. Numbers going up.
That's a lot of pizza.
Well, and you know, people are arguing, did he or didn't he? But there's no way any of us can know, right? We can't know what happened back then. We weren't there. We can't judge that, right?
No.
Oh, Jack, I don't know. It's hard for me to not take it seriously, because really we're supposed to take it seriously. But these sound like kind of some of those nebulous allegations that sometimes are just so subjective that beauty may be in the eye of the beholder.
Did you see how fast he became a lawyer?
Totally, like, boom.
Oh, well, let me get past law. I mean, I would never defend Herman Cain. I think there's a little bit of a joke in Herman Cain. I mean, because I hear him on TV, he says, look, if an abortion constitutional amendment crosses my desk, I'm going to sign it. And I'm thinking, he's going to be our president, and he has no idea that a constitutional amendment requires 3/4 of the BCS vote or something, but it's certainly not the president.
But now, let me come back. You said you would never defend him. What would he be like as a client? From what you've seen.
Oh no, these business guys are real tough guys. The guys, here's what happens: they're surrounded by sycophants, and once in a great while, they will admit a mistake. And when they admit a mistake, there'll be dozens of people lining up outside the office to talk about how magnanimous it was that they took the blame and that they admit it. So they're very hard to deal with.
But also, workplaces are complicated, right? I mean, it's not as simple as you're standing around and all of a sudden some guy is pawing you. Everybody is trying to get somewhere. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody has a personal life that comes to work with them. I don't care what the brochure or the worker's manual says. People bring their personal stuff to work. So every day in every office there are people playing out their private frustrations or their ambitions. So I would think it's just about impossible for us to look at something that happened 12 or 13 years ago and have any insight into whether it really did happen or happened the way it was described, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and let me say something about the amount of money. I've heard some of the pundits and sages on television talking about the amount of money for which they settle. Yeah, 5 figures. I'm telling you that in Texas, down here in South Texas, that would be about 5 or 6 months of legal fees. Up east, that's probably 45 days of legal fees. See? So that's a decent business decision to say, as soon as somebody makes them a claim, let's give them some nuisance value. And $35,000 to $40,000 is nothing for nuisance value in litigation in this day and age.
On Gang of Four, we're talking first this morning about the Herman Cain story, among many things we'll cover here on 550 KTSA. The Cain campaign has not had a good week, not only because of these allegations, but because they keep changing their response to this. And for a while in the middle of the week, Jay and Nikki, they were trying to point the finger at who leaked the story to Politico.com. Isn't that sort of beside the point? Because if this is in your past, it doesn't matter who points it out to Politico, it's going to come out.
Well, it's just deflecting the issue. I mean, their whole strategy is deflect. So if we can point fingers and blame, and throw in a wonderful Herman Cain singing Amazing Grace at a press conference, I think that's just they're trying to just, they're trying to push
like maybe it'd be a bigger scandal if we knew that it was Rick Perry's people or somebody. Yeah. Okay. And is that, would people really care, Jay? You ran for office. Would people really care from which campaign it came, or would they be more interested in whether or not it's true?
Well, as a former political candidate, I'm going to tell you right now, the best thing that Herman Cain could have done was to stick to the issues instead of doing the finger pointing. Because then it does become the three-ring circus, and because the first thing people are going to do is start investigating. Well, let's see, if he says it was one of his former workers that's working with the Perry campaign now, then we're going to dig up some more stuff, and it just keeps on and on and on. The best thing he could have done is to one, if he's not guilty of this, deny it, and then continue talking about his issues, which are why people are interested in him in the first place.
Although we say a bad week, but if at the end of this week his poll numbers are steady or going up, maybe people have decided this is not meaningful to me. I don't care about
There
this.
can be a backlash when something like that happens. If somebody feels that somebody is maybe unfairly being accused of something, and I'm not saying that's the case, but if people have that feeling, then they will tend to run to that candidate's defense sometimes, and that might be what we see here.
I think that it's that the public in general, Jack, is tired of these types of stories.
Yeah.
I mean, how many
Yeah.
sexual harassment stories can we hear? I'm just like, oh, well, that's kind of a played little mudslinging. Okay, we're done with that. Yeah, he did it. Okay, it's passed. All right, let's get to the core of who he is. Let's really analyze this other stuff. I think that's why his popularity vote is going up, because if that's the only thing they can find, all right, really, we've already done that.
Jay, if you're running for office and you know that in your portfolio was this chapter, this happened, these accusations were made, the National Restaurant Association processed them, maybe he was or maybe he was not aware that cash settlements had been paid out, but he certainly knew the accusations had been made. Would it have been better to get out in front of this as you're rolling out your candidacy and you're telling people all about you? I have a wife, I have kids, I had cancer once. Hey, one time when I worked at the National Restaurant Association, this happened. But I'm here to tell you there was nothing to it, and it was all, there was no substance to it. I want to be the first to let you know that this might come out.
Well, and for an experienced political candidate, and he is an experienced, I mean, this is not his first go-round. He's not a complete outsider, as
Right.
people would say. But somebody, let's say, for a seasoned political veteran, that would be the smart thing to do. But I don't consider him, even though he has experience, I don't consider him a seasoned veteran of political campaigns. And because of that, you're finding out these little mistakes that he's making that maybe you wouldn't have seen from a Romney or a Perry that have been, in politics longer than that. And I think you do need to let everything out, right from the beginning. How often does it happen? Almost never.
All right, we've seen this story play out over the week. We're going to talk about where it's going next and talk about many more things from this past week with the gang on 550 KTSA over in the newsroom. Here's Karen.
Later to West Virginia.
KTSA Stream Online is brought to you by Connecticut Quality Water Systems.
The news and talk of San Antonio coming here at 550 KTSA.
A reporter connected the dots, and that was the reporter that wrote the article for Forbes. And, he called to confirm some of the things that I had said. When you look at the facts, and you look at the fact that Politico doesn't have any documentation, they have never talked to the women who are anonymous. I didn't know there were so many women named Anonymous in America, to be perfectly honest with you, because they keep digging up others, okay? When Anderson Cooper asked the writer or asked someone from Politico point blank, were you tipped off by a rival campaign? The person from Politico wouldn't answer. What does that suggest? All I'm saying is, we are just looking at all the facts, okay? And this Mr. Anderson is frequently quoted in Politico. Let's just say there aren't enough breadcrumbs that we can lay down and connect that leads us anywhere else at this point in time. And we're moving on.
The guy he's talking about, Kurt Anderson, worked for his Senate campaign in Georgia and now works as a pollster for the Perry campaign. This has led the Kaine campaign to blame the Perry campaign. The Perry campaign then blamed the Romney campaign. And President Obama ordered his engraved invitations to his second inauguration. I don't think, one of you said it, I think people are fatigued of this kind of conversation, and part of it is that we can't know. We can't get our arms around whether this did or did not happen. Part of it is there's been so much of this. We're jaded. I mean, I think ever since the Clinton years, it's the potency of this kind of accusation is just kind of not there anymore. But how could the story change? Well, how could it get worse? More women come forward. The women in the confidentiality agreement.
Baby!
Tiger Woods all style.
A baby, says Jay Tope. Oh, good grief. What about these confidentiality agreements, Jimmy Parks? Are they voided already by the fact that of what Politico's already reported? Should they be voided? What happens when you void one? Do you got to give the money back? How does that all work?
Well, you know, the public's going to hate me saying this because it really is very critical of the lawyers in it, and people don't like for me running lawyers down. But in this situation, they failed to get Kane's signature on the dotted line on the confidentiality agreement. So the strange situation that we're in right now is that Kane can revel in what happened and make his denials, but the individuals on the other side who've gotten the money, the purported victims, can't say anything because the concern that they would have is that not only will they have to give the money back, but they have to pay all the attorney's fees and a penalty. That's usually a clause in a confidentiality agreement to lock people into that. So they need the restaurant association, who was the other party, to relieve them from the confidentiality agreement before they can talk.
Okay. And so in terms of looking at where this story is going, he seems to have settled on, I believe this came from one of the other campaigns. This is a high-tech lynching, he is saying in a new ad that just came out today from his PAC.
Wow.
That's a reference to the high-tech lynching of Clarence Thomas for the Supreme Court hearings. And he continues to say there's no basis to this. Tonight, he's having his wife, Gloria, do an exclusive interview with Greta Van Susteren on the Fox News channel. She's very private, doesn't do campaign appearances, hasn't done an interview like this yet. So it seems to be a dual track strategy. My wife knew all about it, but there was nothing to it. And I just wonder, how might this blow up on him? Would it be other women or these women or what?
You know, one thing that's different about this situation is this doesn't happen to Republicans very often. You know, sex is usually the Democratic weakness, and so as you watch this unfold, it's a strange scenario, Jack, because I would think that by diverting the issue, you do just like Jay said, you create more of it. And I agree with Nikki that people are tired of hearing this. But what I think should have happened should have been a quick and curt denial. I mean, that's what we look at. When somebody comes into the office and they say, well, you know, I said, did you kill your wife? Well, how could I have killed my wife? Well, did you kill your wife? Well, why would I have killed my wife, Jimmy? You know, at some point I want him to say, no, I didn't kill my wife. I want to get past that. And what we want from him now is not blame. We don't want him to deflect the issue to other campaigns. That's a nonsense issue. It's a hollow issue. The real issue is, did you do it or not, and is there anything to it? And so if he would just say quickly, like Jason, look, it's over. I didn't do it. Nothing happened. I am at times a powerful man, very wealthy. I'm very successful. A lot of chicks are chasing me down all the time. I try to be nice to them. But for crying out loud, I'm not going to let any of them get in my pants. That's the end of it.
Cheers. That'll be the
Good choice of a word.
Yeah.
A reporter asked Condoleezza Rice the other day in an interview about this whole thing. And Condoleezza Rice said, I am disappointed in Herman Cain for playing the race card. She says, I have seen it played by the other side too often. I'm tired of it. It's bad for the country. It's bad for everybody involved. Is Herman Cain right when he and his supporters allege that had this been a white candidate, or had this been a white Democrat, to use Jimmy's input, maybe Politico and the rest of the media feeding frenzy wouldn't have happened? Is he right?
I have to say I think so. It's sad to say, but I think we're talking about race. I'll talk about race. You know, with Obama, now I think the door is open for, you know, now really being so pinpointing every little flaw and detail of a next possible, you know, African American president. So now we're going to look, and now Republicans. So now we're going to look at multiple things. So maybe you're right. It's typically a Democrat situation, but now we need to go the opposite. And so, okay, we've already done the black thing, but now we have the black thing plus the Republican thing. Now let's really look at every flaw as possible and magnify it.
Jay, would does this story play into stereotypes of black men as predators of women, and therefore feed this story in a way that wouldn't have made it as interesting or as likely to be covered if it was about somebody else?
I don't know whether it makes it more interesting or not, but I do think it definitely plays into stereotypes. And I think that I don't think it's a race issue. I do think it's an ideological issue because if it would have been I'm telling you right off the bat, if it would have been a white Republican that this would have happened to, I think they would have investigated it just as thoroughly.
You do?
Yes, absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely. And it just, like I said, it depends because, and here's the thing, because we have some people from the National Organization of Women that are really on Kane's behind now about this. Where was that organization when Clinton was having his accusations? They were nowhere to be found.
But when it comes to media coverage, wasn't the media pretty aggressive with John Edwards?
Yes, but and not right off the bat. Remember, who was the one that finally broke the story? It wasn't ABC, it wasn't NBC, it was the Inquirer.
Right.
So once
Forced
it's in
to deal with it.
Yes, because once the Inquirer and they've got all the pictures and they got all the evidence, well then the media had to do something because we can't we can't let the Inquirer beat us. And that's the only if the Inquirer hadn't have been there at that hotel, we might still not know what had gone on with John Edwards.
If Herman Cain starts to pay a price for this in terms of support, who benefits?
Wow.
He thinks, his people think Perry did this. Is Perry the beneficiary if Cain's losing support, or where does that support go?
I don't think that's going to help Perry. I really don't. I mean, that may have been their strategy, but or not. But I don't think it's going to help. Who is it going to benefit? Wow, I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, I mean, I think it would benefit the other front runner, Mitt Romney. I really think.
You think it'll come all just go over to him?
It would have to, I think, because it looks like Perry's just on a downhill slide.
Yes.
I mean, because he started out so strong, and he tends to be moving down in increments. You think that there's probably not a lot that someone else can do that would help him. I think he'd have to help himself. I mean, his speech, I guess, where was it, in New Hampshire or something, was just is silly. I mean,
ridiculous.
His mannerisms, his wrist, his covering his mouth, his giggling and the like. It just he didn't look presidential, and he didn't look much like a cowboy.
He looked like a frat boy.
Yeah, it was a strange deal. And so I think he's doing enough damage to himself to where Cain really can't help him a lot, even if he wanted to.
Yeah. Let me play a little of that. Pull on your headphones. For folks that have not heard it yet, I don't know how you could have missed it this week. This is from last Friday night, so just a week ago. Governor Perry at a speech in New Hampshire. It's an event for his campaign. It's not one of the debates. And according to people with him, he is stone cold sober and getting a lot of applause and ovations from the audience. But take a listen to this. This thing, I have listened to this thing. What's going on here?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. To me, it's you hear it, and it tells kind of a story. But when you watch it, Jack, the mannerisms. I mean, they lead you to believe that you just wouldn't want him in the huddle with you. You wouldn't want him in a foxhole with you. You wouldn't want him wrestling cattle with you.
Let me play devil's advocate with you, because I agree. But let me play devil's advocate. This man is in a good mood. He is enjoying the audience. The audience is enjoying him. He's talking about himself. It's little anecdotes about a life that they know nothing of. They're a million miles away up there in New Hampshire. Why doesn't this work? Nikki, you're the performer in the room. Why isn't this working that way? Why isn't this charming?
This was an awful performance. He should have been coached much better. He's not taking this seriously. He thinks that by being funny and trying to be charming, he's gonna have that personal interaction and relationship.
But don't politicians start off even serious speeches with a joke or some? I mean, you have a little lightheartedness, and then you get into the.
He needs new writers. He needs new writers. No, it is an awful performance, Jack. And I don't even know. You said something, and I want to address what you said. You said that the audience was applauding and laughing. That sounds like a laugh track. It does not sound like a real. I think it's one of those lights and
Yeah.
apply to. I mean, I think
maybe
they were
uncomfortable.
very
That's
uncomfortable.
the word.
That's exactly right. I think
So
it was
Jay,
more
if you're in that
uncomfortable.
audience,
Exactly
you're almost
right.
you're just wanting it to be over.
Yes, exactly. I'm looking at my watch several
Kind of
times.
like Gang of Four.
No, I think it's like Charlie Sheen. You know, people were amused by Charlie Sheen. You have the people wanting to watch this downward spiral.
Jay, was this a political Charlie Sheen?
Yeah, that's I had never
what it
never
is.
thought about that, but yeah, now that Nikki's mentioned it, yes, it was definitely a Charlie Sheen moment.
He thinks he's winning.
Yeah, and he's not going to.
Well, I don't know though, because look, there seems to be a lot of dissatisfaction with Romney. The Republicans are begging for another choice. That's why Kane's doing well. That's why they're begging other people to get into the race until recently. Perry does have all that money. I mean, I wouldn't write him off yet. I mean, it's awfully early. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows who will be in there?
Yeah, but you know what?
2 or 3 months from now.
First impressions are so important. I'm talking about for the rest of the country that their first impression of Rick Perry is over these past few months. First impressions are so important. I don't think you can do anything to change the imprint that people already have of Perry that again don't know him like we have known him for.
Maybe he wanted to lower the bar so that from here on out everything else will look really, really good.
He needs to take some tiger blood.
Hey, there is a Lincoln Douglas style presidential debate tomorrow in the Woodlands between Newt Gingrich and Herman Cain. And you know, the Lincoln Douglas style is very long form, long answers, the candidates expounding at great length. It's not moderator driven or time limit driven. The candidates talk to each other. In a debate between Herman Cain and Newt Gingrich, who would get the better of that?
Hey, let me say quickly, because I get it over with. I don't think anybody can beat Newt Gingrich in a debate. I mean, he's too well informed. He's too intelligent.
So he'd have it hands down.
I think
Nikki,
Newt
what do you
Gingrich.
think?
I was going to say, yeah, I think just if you look at if it's LD style, yeah, I think Newt Gingrich is much more savvy probably in that kind of process and understanding that form. I don't think that Herman Cain is as educated in that process, and I'm surprised that they're doing it that way.
Well, and the thing with Newt Gingrich is, and I think, I don't think any candidate has helped their campaign more, even though he probably won't get the nomination. But I don't think any candidate has been helped more by the debates than Newt Gingrich has.
I agree.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why isn't he doing better? Why aren't we looking at this field and saying, this guy's bright, in command of the facts, opinionated, what's wrong here?
He's just too friggin' evil.
Yeah, he's not nice. He's not a nice person. Exactly right. He's not nice. He may know how to do
Could
it,
you
but he's not nice.
Elaborate a little bit on either the friggin' or the evil.
No, he's been an elitist. He's been a racist. He doesn't like people. He may
doesn't
even
like
be
people?
a thief.
No, he's not a people
He
person.
likes his small coterie of individuals, who is his other elitists, his other intellectuals, part of his clerisy. They.
So you admire his intellect, but he's not what you're looking for in a president, is that?
I admire his intellect, and I even admire his delivery, and I admire his politics. I just think any attempt for him to act like a real human being is disingenuous.
Okay.
Well
I wish you would
said.
stop beating around the bush, Jimmy, and just get right to the point.
Bravo.
Jay, is he just not retail politics
Well,
material?
here's
Is
the
that it?
thing with Newt Gingrich, and I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of what he has to say. But here's the thing with Newt Gingrich: he came in with a lot of people didn't like him through the Clinton years. There were a lot of people. He was not necessarily the enemy, but he was
Would you say baggage?
yeah, baggage from that time, during the whole contract, with America and all that stuff. There were some people on the other side of the political spectrum that he was the target,
Right.
and like I said, that doesn't go away over time,
Right.
and I think a lot of that, like I said, he had to really work, especially among independents. The conservatives, the strong conservatives, love Newt Gingrich, but you're not going to win the Republican nomination with just the strong conservatives. You need those Republican independents and the Democratic crossovers, and that's who Newt Gingrich is going to have a hard time convincing that he's the man for the job.
All right, there's more Gang of Four coming up on this Friday morning, and you can vote in the JR poll at 599-5555. But first, over in the 550 KTSA newsroom, here's Karen.